Good morning, guys. It's Nick at Optima PS. I hope you're all well. Once again, thanks very much for coming back to my channel. I really do appreciate it. As ever, if you can drop me a like and a comment in the comment section and let me know if you like this video, that's always really well appreciated as well, and it helps me to get and cover the right topic. So this is one that's come exactly from that. Someone's asked me to cover this topic. I did mention yesterday that I would do so in a video yesterday, and someone's asked me if I could just cover this, and actually I was then reminded as a double whammy by a guy called Smoke Dog. I don't know if you know Smoke Dog, but in my opinion, one of the best researchers in the whole of X. He put this tweet out this morning talking about stablecoins, and that's how we come onto my video, which is, I believe, entitled How Stablecoins Will Save the US Dollar. And I think they will. I really think they will. Before we get into it, guys, as ever, my name's Nick. You know me by now. I'm a financial advisor, but I'm absolutely not your financial advisor. So anything I say or do in this video should be taken as nothing other than me, a bloke on the internet, sharing my opinion in the hope that you take some value from it. But it's absolutely not financial advice, guys. I couldn't give you financial advice. I don't know you. You don't know me. It would be the worst financial advice in the world if you took it that way. So absolutely not financial advice, guys. And then let's take a look. Where are we at the moment? So if we jump on CoinMarketCap, we're sat here with not a lot of action in the last hour or two, in fairness. The last day, not a great deal either. It's just turned midnight in the US at the moment. So where I am, we're about lunchtime. We're about 12 hours different now. In terms of where we are, Bitcoin 8.4% in the last week. Ethereum's at 7%. You go down, Solana's at 9%. You've got XRP just shy of 1%. Dogecoin at 27 almost. So it's been a good week, especially with all the news that's come out as well. So there's not been a lot of people running for the hills and selling on the back of that SEC appeal, which is very, very encouraging. But realistically speaking, it's been a steady week in crypto. Bitcoin is pushing towards that new all-time high, guys. When it breaks, I think it goes. We might have a wobbly week in between. You know, I don't tend to get involved in the day trading side of things. I listen to people who are better at it than I am. So some of the traders, the technical analysis guys out there know more about it than me. And it's a mixed bag. Some think we're going to see a little dip before we push on. Some think we're just going to push straight through now. We shall see in a week or two, I guess. I think it will be no more than that, and we'll either dip before a push or we'll push. But it's coming, guys. That new all-time high is coming. The bull run is on its way soon, which is always nice to see. So today's video, we get into this. Realistically, it was my mind being jogged by smoke this morning, and then when I jumped onto YouTube, I saw a comment from someone asking me to discuss the topic as well. So the topic is the stable coins and how they're going to interact with saving the US dollar, and that might sound like a big bold statement, but let's see what Smoke Dog had to say about it first. If you don't follow Smoke Dog, one of the best researchers on the whole of well, I'm saying on the whole of X in our space. I can't comment on guys that go out and research cat videos and things like that, but in terms of what we do and what we're after, give this guy a follow. Fantastic information constantly comes out of this account. So Smoke, if you're listening, I hope you are, thank you very much for all you do. So what does he say this morning? Stablecoins will serve as the United States defense for the US dollar's status as a global reserve currency in response to de-dollarization. 99% of stablecoins are denominated in US dollars, reinforcing the dollar's influence in the digital economy. The US dollar also dominates FX reserves, international debt and loans, and the SWIFT network, further cementing its role in global financial infrastructure. As stablecoins gain regulatory clarity and adoption increases, they will help sustain the dollar's relevance in a rapidly changing global market, countering the effects of de-dollarization. Soon after the BRICS nations reveal their new payment system, US stablecoin regulation will follow 100%. So that's a massive statement, isn't it? I mean, and it makes perfect sense. You know, there's no messing around with that. Everything he said there, I think, is absolutely true. This is a point he's gone on to show. So he says, stablecoins, which have become one of the most popular crypto products, are one of the biggest topics for policy discussion, with several bills already floating around Congress. One of the tailwinds, at least in the US, is the realization that stablecoins can fortify the US dollar's position abroad, even as the dollar's global reserve currency status slips. Today, more than 99% of stablecoins are denominated in USD, which dwarfs the next largest denomination, which is 0.2% in euro. 99% of stablecoins are US dollars. Now, we can see de-dollarization happening. We see this thing with the BRICS. We see all these nations clambering to join. A lot of those nations, by the way, will join the BRICS but continue to use US dollar as well. They're not saying they're going to exclusively use BRICS. That's a big point to remember. What they're doing is they're sticking a peg in each camp, right? They want a foot in each side of things so that if BRICS takes off the way it could do, they can continue to trade with those guys the way they like. And if the rest of the world sticks with the US dollar, they can continue to trade with those guys the way they like. So it's not going to be a 100% you're in BRICS or out of it. For some of the nations it will be. Russia, China, certainly. I don't think India. India have big trading partnerships with a lot of the Western world. I don't think India especially, but I think India will now try to buy and sell things to China in, let's say, BRICS, so in their own currencies. But they'll still continue to trade with other countries in their own, in the US dollar as well. So it's not quite as big a deal as everyone says, but let's take on what is de-dollarization. That's probably one of the big things, It's probably one of the big points that we haven't really considered, So the US dollar itself, it's been the dominant reserve currency globally for a long time now. When I say a long time now, 60 years, give or take. It's been used more than that, really, but realistically it was gold before. You could argue that the US dollar is based around the petrodollar agreements as opposed to just the US dollar itself, but it's the biggest economy. It was a natural way for the world to go, is to use the most commonly used currency, the most commonly used currency amongst your trading partners, for example. So it was an obvious way that things would go, but what we're seeing now is the rise, or let's say the decline of the petrodollar and the emergence of other currencies. So if we take a look at de-dollarization and how it's happening, so this is an article written, De-dollarization Acceleration to 2024. De-dollarization is the process of moving away from the world's reliance on the US dollar as the chief reserve currency. That's it. In a nutshell, that's what it is, isn't it? So the dollar has remained the primary reserve currency and conduit for international business ever since the United States emerged as the world's top economic power following World War II. Can the USD sustain its leadership? So this then goes into an analysis of what's going on now. We don't really need to look into that. We've all talked about this before. Why is it mainly happening? Well, some of the countries in the world, mainly those who've been sanctioned in the past, think that the US and let's say the United Nations and the Allied forces of the US, financially speaking, I'm not going back to the war now, but they think that the US dollar is often weaponized. So if you think that the US dollar, and indeed SWIFT as well as a technology, if you're not familiar with SWIFT, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications is what it stands for. What it is, it's how I send money from me to you. If I send money from my bank I'm in the Philippines right now, but my banks are all in the UK and the Isle of Man mainly. I do have a little one here, but let's say I send it from my bank in the Philippines to the United States, to pay you $200 because you paid for the movies last time we went. That would transfer via a messaging network called SWIFT, who would send a message from my bank to yours, and that would say basically reduce $200 in Nick's account and add $200 to that account using the Voxy accounts, and basically it would go through in a way that we would assume it's my money moving from my bank to yours, but actually it's the messaging telling them to change the balances, and it can take up to 3 weeks, and it charges $30, and nobody really likes it. Why the BRICS nations don't like it is they feel that the US sometimes weaponizes this, so it's very, very easy, for example, to say, Russia, we placed a trade sanction on you, therefore no one can buy and sell your goods by transfers via SWIFT using the US dollar SWIFT network, is essentially it. And so they don't like this, they're moving away. This is a chart that shows you how they're moving away. So this is the composition of world foreign exchange reserves. So it's not exactly a perfect science here, but what you can see is over the years, the amount of US dollars held as foreign exchange has gone up, but their market share has gone down. So going back to 1995, it's, you can't see my cursor here, but I'm looking at the very far left bar, the first bar in the chart. Yes, it's small anyway, but it's predominantly US dollars. I'd say more than 95% of that is USD. Same in 96, 97, 98. In 99, with the emergence of the euro currency. We start to see the euro coming in a little bit more. But essentially, as time goes by, we're moving more and more away from the US dollar as global foreign exchange reserves. And what it really means from our point of view is that the BRICS nations are now coming forward saying, hey, we don't need the US dollar anymore. Let's do our own trading in our own currencies. When I buy oil from China using, whatever it might be, Brazilian currency, I often have to go from my currency to USD to Chinese currency. I don't like that because I pay double the exchange rate. It costs me more money. The US can weaponize the dollar against me if they want and turn the tap off. All these problems could arise, so we want to go our own way. And so essentially what we're looking at is something where this is happening. And the US is losing money held in US bonds, it's losing money held in the actual dollar itself, held in reserve, and that isn't good for the US economy. That throws more dollars back to the US, creates a weaker dollar in the United States, which in itself creates inflation, and it's a bad situation for the US. It's definitely not something the US wants, which is why I'm so constantly surprised that the US is so slow to embrace crypto, because I think crypto is the savior. So let's move on to that. How exactly could that work? So realistically speaking, let's go dead simple. When it comes to a stable coin, what is it? What is a stable coin? So essentially, this is something I wrote a few days ago, particularly to do this video, if I'm really honest. As simple as I can put it in layman's terms, how stable coins work. So we're talking about number one, the fiat collateralized stable coins. There are crypto ones as well. There are algorithmic stable coins as well. We're going to look at this top one because this is where, when we're talking USDC, RLUSD, that kind of thing, even Tether to a certain degree, but not quite the same. This is what we mean. So these stablecoins are backed by, these stablecoins are backed by reserves of fiat currency. For example, for every stablecoin issued, an equivalent amount of USD is held in reserves, and this is how it works. So again, looking at the picture we've got here, you've got US dollars, you've got your crypto. They balance each other out. So when you buy a stablecoin, the issuer holds an equivalent amount of USD in a bank account. If you buy one stablecoin, they set aside $1. You can redeem your stablecoin for USD at any time, which helps to maintain the peg. If demand for the stablecoin decreases and you redeem it, the issuer takes that stablecoin out of circulation and returns the USD. So what you essentially have there, in as simple as a format as we can put it, is if I go out to the shop today and I want to pay $2 for my groceries and I want to do it using stablecoins, I will buy $2 worth of stablecoins, and that stablecoin will in turn buy $2 US, taking them out of circulation. To maintain the peg, it's about keeping the balance so it remains on a 1-for-1 peg with the USD. If I sell in USD, in a stablecoin, it will sell the US dollars back into circulation. So what you essentially have is a situation where by using stablecoins, we keep the dollar relevant because 99% are held in USD. So okay, all these BRICS nations around the world are going out saying we're going to take our commerce, let's call it, our transactional business away from the US dollar. Not necessarily the US, but away from the US dollar. So what they're saying is, I'm China, I want to buy oil from Iran, I want to buy it in Chinese yen. Yeah, I want to buy it from the UAE, and they're going to sell it to me in their dinar. Whatever it might be, whatever the situation might be, we're in a position where they're bypassing the use of the US dollar. They're going to long-term move away from using the US dollar. That's happening now. That train's left the station, to use the crypto phrase, the XRP phrase. That train has gone. There's no talking them back now. They're too far down this rabbit hole. They are leaving the US dollar. As far as they are concerned, the US dollar's days of the global reserve currency are dead. As far as the US is concerned right now, because they're not doing a damn thing about it, it's dead also. But where stable coins come in is, without it being the US dollar, without it being the US government, without them having the ability to tell SWIFT not to allow transactions in and out of Russia or anything else, all that weaponization is taken away. But by transacting with crypto, 99% of the crypto world still uses stablecoins based in US dollar. That will change as time goes by as well. There will be a BRIC stablecoin, for example. There will be central bank digital currency, CBDCs, everything we're talking about, in that respect, they're nothing but a stablecoin. That's all they are. The United States digital dollar is a stablecoin pegged 1-for-1 with a dollar. The UK pound pound digital pound is a stablecoin pegged 1-for-1 with a pound. What they do is they're essentially, it's like taking tokenization of real world assets. They are just tokenizing the fiat currency, utilizing the stablecoin. That's probably the easiest way to look at it. So what we really find is that by keeping or by allowing the use of stablecoins, and the quicker the United States does this, the quicker they will develop that huge market share. The bigger the stablecoin, the bigger the market share, the bigger they'll be ongoing. And so it bypasses the USD, but again, if you're sat there in China and you want to buy something from Brazil, you no longer need to go through the US dollar. But if you're China and you're going to be doing multinational transactions with countries all around the world, you're going to hold some USDC or RLUSD or whatever that US dollar stablecoin might be. You're going to hold some, and when you hold some, you still hold, or that coin holds US dollar pegged. So you're still taking those US dollars out of circulation. So even though they don't think they're using the dollar, they're still using the dollar to a certain degree. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So just going back to it, so by pegging the value to the US dollar, stablecoins, RLUSD, USDC, they are essential for keeping money flowing into the dollar system. Yeah. They provide that crucial layer and liquidity. When people use stablecoins, they're essentially taking digital representation of a dollar. It encourages more transactions around the world in USD as well, right? So, okay, if you ask the US, would you rather swap China, the nation's trade, in USD for all the small single accounts living in Africa who are going to use USDC rather than their local currency? Of course, they'd rather keep China. No two ways about it. But if you're going to lose China anyway, but suddenly 1 billion people around the world are going to start holding USDC because it's more stable than their own currency, buying and selling in USDC, and for every single little guy who's got $100 in USC, that's $100 of USD taken out of liquidity, taken out of circulation, propping up the price of the dollar. It helps them. It all helps. Yeah. So more transactions of USD around the world in the digital realm, yeah, whereas traditional banking is going to lose a lot of that anyway. How many people still pay cash nowadays? I do. I'm a cash guy. I feel naked if I'm not walking around with $100 worth of cash in my pocket. If I do big transactions, if I go shopping let's say I go to the mall because I want to buy a new suit, new pair of shoes, I do that on my card. I don't have one of those apps on the phone yet that everyone seems to have. Simply because I live in a part of the world where thievery is ripe and thieves are smart. They don't walk around with a gun and hold you up in an alleyway anymore. They walk around with an electronic device that sucks all your cash out of your phone. So I don't have those sort of things on. I don't even have the tap and pay on my card. I still have to use a PIN number. But that's because of where I live and how cautious I am. But even I probably use cash now 33% of what I used to use it. Cash is going. So let's go back to it. Yeah. When someone buys or sells goods or uses services with USDC or RLUSD, for example, they're still spending US dollars. They're still keeping US dollars within that ecosystem. It means capital flows in and out of the dollar system just like it does today when we spend in dollars, and so it still keeps its relevance around the world. Yeah. So think of it like this. Every time a business accepts USDC as a payment, what they're essentially doing is they're reinforcing the value of the dollar. Even though it's called USDC and it's not a US dollar, you're still taking the dollar in and out of the system like you would have done if you were spending dollars. So I hope that makes sense. And again, just to reinforce what I'm saying, it's not only my opinion here. Here's the Wall Street Journal. Stablecoins can keep the dollar the world's reserve currency. I won't read this out to you, but I will scroll through it so that you can pause the video and slowly read through. It's not the biggest article in the world, but I'm already yapping on for 20 minutes. This is going to be a long one because it's a big subject. This is another one again. So this is from a guy, the fanatical futurist. Basically what he's saying here, stablecoins help the US dollar take over the world again. Yeah, and basically he goes on to say kind of what I've said, but in a more eloquent way. So again, I'll scroll through this, I'll let you have a read through. You can Google the article if you like and find it in your own time, but that's the author, Matthew Griffin. It's a good article. It's a good article. Yeah. This one, I'll jump onto in a moment. So what I was going to say is, now, when we're talking about USDC, RLUSD, we're talking about stablecoins. This channel, I focus more on Ripple, XRP. How do they come into it? So again, we're looking at a system where Ripple is streamlining cross-border payments. We know how XRP works, right? They're trying to make the payment system faster, more effective. But this all ties in. If RLUSD becomes one of the biggest stable coins, then you've got XRP as that bridge currency. It makes perfect sense that if you're in China and you're trying to buy something in the US, for example, and you don't want to use US dollar anymore, well then you go to RLUSD, but you throw in your Chinese currency, you use Ripple as the exchange mechanism, you come into RLUSD and you buy stuff in America. In a nutshell. Obviously, I think that the emergence of the BRICS may reduce trade between these nations. It's not going to cease trade between these nations. They all need each other. They all need each other. Yeah, America still imports Chinese cars. Maybe not when Mr. Trump comes in, but America at the moment still imports Chinese cars. China doesn't import American cars back, which is a bit strange. But America still imports Chinese cars. They're not going to cut off trade with America. You know, what they want to do is they want to cut out this middle coin. They want to take away the power of the US dollar. But in terms of that, we have XRP acting as the bridge currency. So they facilitate the transactions via the XRPL that might otherwise involve multiple currencies, enhancing the efficiency of dollar-denominated trades, because RLUSD is a US dollar stablecoin. That, by the way, the other side to that is where I think Ripple finally become friends with, maybe not the SEC under Gary's watch, but moving forwards when he's gone, with the SEC, with the US Treasury, with everyone involved in the United States. They will realize how much value the enterprises of Ripple will keep in the United States and the US dollar system, and we're going to go from a position where they're currently public enemy number one to where everybody is best buds with the guys at Ripple, with the guy, and not only Ripple, in fairness, there's a lot of coins that will do similar for the United States. You know, USDC is a great example of that. I don't think RLUSD will overtake it. I do think it will overtake Tether. I think Tether's days are numbered, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But I think RLUSD will remain one of the largest players, and because of the fact that they have both the stablecoin and the tracks on which that ought to run, being the XRPL, you'll see as a transaction, far more transactions will go through RLUSD than USDC. I just think more cash will be held in USDC. But again, how exactly do they come into play when addressing global debt? That's the next conversation to move on to, because again, another way of saving the US dollar is saving the US economy. It gets interesting, doesn't it? So if you think back that gold had always been viewed as a safe haven, and a hedge against inflation, and gold was the backup mechanism currency, right? So even, you know, I showed the picture there. I mean, this is one of the problems with gold, but that is essentially the the UK sending money from London to Poland, apparently covertly. 8,000 bars of gold, 100 tons were transported from the Bank of England's vaults to Poland. I don't know why, I didn't even read the article, I wanted the picture, but that's how you send gold. Now, historically, gold has been used as that backup, but what's the problem with gold? Well, here's one, right? It's bulky. It takes a lot to transfer it around the world. I don't know how much that flight costs, but if you think of all the insurance and everything else that went through it, it's a pain in the ass. Yeah. You go back to the fact that gold technically could be revalued to eradicate the world debt, but that takes the whole world agreeing on it, and it doesn't really change the status quo. It's just a way of getting rid of debt and starting again. It's a way of wiping the slate clean all around. I owe you $50, you owe the next guy $50, he owes someone else $50, and that guy owes me $50. well, rather than all sending each other $50, we just keep our $50 in our pocket, right? That's essentially what revaluing gold would do. In terms of this side of things, when it comes to eradicating the debt, I still don't think there is enough gold and silver and other finite precious metals in the world. And that would then create future problems revolving around the future value of these things as well. And then next time when we cock up, because we never learn by our mistakes, what are we going to do again? Revalue gold to $1 trillion an ounce? You know, it doesn't make sense. Crypto is something that comes in with such a low value now, with such a high price expectation on it, that it could essentially do that. I'm going off topic right now, but it is something I just wanted to get into. More so because I'm still talking about the stablecoin side of things. Stablecoins and real asset tokenization are more practical than sending physical gold. And that's another reason why we're going to see the Ripple network, the RLUSD side of things from a stablecoin point of view, and the XRP as a token, take on real world asset tokenization to eradicate problems like this. That will in turn increase the value spectacularly on a lot of these coins, and I think will go a long way towards eradicating the global debt. But that's a conversation for a different day. But, you know, what is the problem with using gold instead of things like stable coins? Well, here's a big problem. Good old Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So you've got this money flying on the planes. It's not a train anymore, but what's to stop someone taking that plane down? You know, the guy D.B. Cooper, who all those years ago jumped out with, I don't think it was that much money, was it, Tim? It was a couple $1 million in today's worth, but not like this gold. If you could get onto that plane, take out the pilots, take out the guards, and jump out with just one of those boxes, you live life a very, very happy man, right? So there are issues with gold. And so we're suddenly in this position where we find that crypto operating on decentralized networks means no one controls the stable coins as such. We're not reliant on physical assets like gold. We're not trying to revalue gold. When it comes to the cross-border transactions, no one controls USDC like someone controls SWIFT and someone controls the US dollar. No one controls RLUSD. It's decentralized. Yeah. So it brings transparency, it brings trust to a certain degree, but what I'm saying is that it would be great if they trusted this, because it keeps some level of power in the US. I don't care what anyone says. When the US is leading the world in crypto, when the biggest stablecoins remain US dollar-based stablecoins, and when all the issuing companies are sat in Silicon Valley, there is an element of lean towards the US when it comes to preference and preferential treatment. Will the stablecoins reach out and close off the ability to be used by other countries like the US has done in the past? No, because that would be going back to weaponizing, and essentially nothing's being gained, as it, for the rest of the world. So no, they won't be doing that, but you're going to find yourself in a position where, because they're decentralized with a slight lean towards it, the US stays incredibly relevant. They're not just a temporary solution, these stablecoins, guys. They're going to ensure the dollar remains as, let's say, the bedrock of the global economy, but just in a different way. Yeah. RLUSD, USDC keep the dollar relevant. They keep it thriving. They keep transactions around the globe happening in US dollars and taking US dollars out of circulation, which keeps the price important, value, relevant again. It's such an important conversation. I don't know if I did that justice, because I know I've been sort of just quickly yapping through, but it would take me 10 hours if I wanted to really go through this in great detail. I'm just trying to give you a nutshell as to why I think this comes in. Essentially what we're looking at is the ability to offer the world an alternative which is no longer controlled by the US but doesn't kill the US dollar in the meantime. It keeps the dollar there as the most relevant currency around the world. The US cannot afford that switch to be flipped. If that tap were turned off and the rest of the world stopped using US dollars tomorrow, the US economy is gone. No matter how big it is. Trust me on this. Yeah, the US economy is gone. Now, it isn't going to happen overnight, but even over a prolonged 10-year period, that would be devastating. What stable coins do is they reduce 80% of that loss completely, and they mean the 20% takes a lot less time to slowly dribble away. and in the meantime we bring in that same amount or a similar amount because the rest of the world that hasn't been trading so strongly using US dollars suddenly find that people in the streets are spending USDC, RLUSD, on their tappy phone apps to buy themselves a can of Coke. That's where the world has to go. Realistically speaking, stablecoins achieve all that. I hope I explained that well enough. Guys, I've been yapping on for 30 minutes exactly, and I don't like to go on anymore. So I hope this brought you some value. If you like what I said, as ever, please click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Please share me on social media. And most importantly, please drop me a comment that tells me what you think. If you think it's a bag of shit, tell me. I'd love it. I'd love to know. If you think it's the best thing you've ever heard, even better. Thank you very much. But I want to hear back from you guys. I want you to tell me what you think, what you say. Is there a subject you wanted me to talk about next? Did I cover this well enough? Did I miss a point that you really wanted me to discuss? I really do appreciate you sticking with me, guys. Thanks again for your time. It's been 30 minutes on a Sunday morning, so I really am grateful. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. We'll speak again soon. All the best, Nick.